legit? A Geiger counter measures the intensity of earthquakes. Nope. Geiger counters measure radioactive materials. The devices are named for their inventor, nuclear physicist Hans Geiger.
Radioactivity has been a main concern in parts of Japan after the meltdown at a nuclear power plant almost a year ago. The government set up a mandatory evacuation zone around the plant. It was 12.5 miles in every direction. Kyung La was one of the journalists who was allowed a close-up look at the plant recently. Here's her report.
A year after these reactors at the Fukushima nuclear plant exploded in a triple meltdown, reporters were reminded this is still one of the most hazardous places on the planet. We wore head-to-toe protective gear, full facial respirators, and hazmat suits. And then we drove up to the world's worst nuclear accident in 25 years.
This is our first look on the ground at the reactors. This is the heart of the nuclear problem in Japan. What you're seeing over my shoulder are the reactors. There are 4 of them. The 2 that you see over my right shoulder, those are 2 of the reactors that exploded in the early days of this disaster. When you take a look at the reactors, you can see that they have a long way to go. This is a year after this disaster, and you can see that the force of the explosion crippled those buildings. You can understand how so much radiation spewed from this point when you're standing here.
An army of 3,000 workers are now here daily in shifts to control the melted nuclear fuel and contain the further spread of the radiation. Inside the on-site crisis management building at the plant, a control center monitors their progress and safety 24 hours a day. The highest risk we still see is if something goes wrong with the reactor, says plant manager Takeshi Takahashi. The plant is in cold shutdown, but the nuclear fuel needs constant cooling, and the situation is far from over. TEPCO says the plant won't be decommissioned for at least 30 to 40 years. The challenge is evident as we drive around the Fukushima plant. Debris still mangled from the tsunami sits untouched because of radiation concerns. These blue tanks and these larger gray ones hold water contaminated with radiation. TEPCO is continuously challenged with finding more space for the water. Work conditions and safety, while they've improved since the early days of the disaster, remain a constant concern. Kyung La, CNN at the Fukushima nuclear plant.